This is tutorial 2-2 in GIS Workbook 2. In this tutorial, we'll be learning a lot more about classifications. The first step is to open up our tutorial map, which is tutorial 2-2. We'll be working in a county of Texas this time, looking at population and parcel information, how to best represent that data. Okay. The first thing they want us to do is open our census block group attribute table and look at the statistics for the population of 2004. This is called a frequency table, and basically each value that appears in this box is given a +1 for every time it shows up. And so as you can see, most of the values are in the lower range, and then they taper off as they get higher. So we're just going to close out of this now, and then we're going to go into the properties. We're going to be working in symbology field for a majority of this. So we're going to be working in quantities because we're dealing with numbers. And graduated colors is going to be the scheme that we're going to use. So we're going to choose population 2004 as our value. And we're going to click on classify. And this is called natural breaks. And it basically puts what the program thinks is the best distribution for this data. And these gaps in between these blue lines are called bins. And if you click on the blue line down here, it will actually show you how many elements are in that bin. You got 1526, 1051, 442, 143, and then 24. So we're going to click OK and see how that looks for population of 2004. As you can see, it works pretty well for showing you where there's low population and high population. Now, it might not look exactly like the book. That's because the color scheme might be a little different. But this is fine. This is how it should look or similar. High population here, here, and down here, with low populations around here and over here. Now what we're going to do is look at median age and see how that works. Going to go back into the attribute table and look at the statistics for median age. And as you can see in this one, it's a lot different than the first frequency table that we saw. This is more what they call a bell curve, because it tapers off at both ends. It kind of looks like a bell if you would draw a line over it. So we're just going to X out of here and go into properties again. We're going to change the value to median age, and then we're going to look into classifying. As you can see, there's two large gaps over here. This wouldn't be a good way of distributing the data. So we're going to try two different ones. The first one we're going to try is equal intervals. And as you can see, each bin is 15 and a half years. So if you click on this one, you got 2 elements, 1265, 1793, 117, and then 9. This still isn't that great. We're going to click OK twice just to see what it looks like. And you can see that it's not really that good because it's not good for what they call grouping, is to see what general areas have most things in common. So we're going to go back into properties, classify, and we're going to use quantile. Now what this does is it places on average the same number of values in each bin. As you see, as I click on these, you can see that there's 621, 633, 646, 639, and then 6 47. So we're going to click OK and OK again. Now what this does is it allows us better grouping. Now we know where there's grouping of median ages of like higher and lower. So there's better ways of showing data by using quantile versus equal interval and natural breaks. Most of the time you're going to go through and you're going to try a few to see what best suits your needs. Now what we're going to work on is analyzing parcels. So we're going to go to bookmarks and we're going to go to City of Olander. And as you can see, they use their extent limits here. Census blocks no longer being shown, so we can just collapse that so it's not distracting us. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up our attribute table for parcels. We're going to look at year built statistics. As you can see, a majority of the values are way over here, while there's a few in 0. Now that 0 doesn't mean that it was built in the year 0, it just means that they have no data. It's either unknown or it's an empty lot, there's nothing built there. So we could do a definition query to get rid of all the 0s and 1s, but the problem with that is that they would not show up when we did our map. They would just be blanks. So we don't want to do that because it would look like there's nothing there when in fact it's a vacant lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take care of that in the classification. So we're going to go back to quantities. We're going to go to year built. And this warning will pop up. Values where there's more than 500 items sometimes can be too much. There's a way of handling that for what we're doing. We don't have to do that right now, so that'll be taken care of later. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to exclude certain values. We're going to do that by using exclusion. So we're going to do year built that's less than, because we want to exclude the ones less than a value, and we're going to do 1900. And we're just going to click OK. Just click OK for that warning. And as you can see now, our data looks much better. It looks like there's nothing here, but there's actually like a few. As you can see, there's 1,329 values all around here, so there's just a lot of ones that's very hard to see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try to come up with a best way of showing these values. And the way we're going to do that is, as you can see, our values go from 1926 to 2006. So that's a difference of 80 years. So we're going to go up to equal interval, and we're going to change the classes to 8. And now we have 10 years for each bin. And as you can see, it looks like nothing's in there. You have 3 buildings. 15, 123, and then we get up into the larger numbers. Okay, now we're gonna, with that done, what we're going to do is we're just gonna click OK, OK, and we've run into a problem now. As you can see, a lot of these parcels are extremely small, so therefore when you're zoomed out, the outlines can kind of cover up a lot of the detail. So what we're going to do is go back into properties. We're going to click on symbol, properties for all symbols. We're going to change outline width to 0. Click OK. and click OK. And as you can see, we still have parcels here that are white. Those are the vacant lots. And now we can see all our parcels. And what's neat about this is you can see where the older city is. The lighter it is, the older that part of town is. Darker it is, the newer it is. Or newly renovated anyways. So now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up our map a little bit. Now if you were talking to city planners, these values would be fine. But a majority of people kind of like rounded numbers. When dealing with years, we kind of like to do it by decade. As you can see, this goes from 1926 to 1936, where in fact we would like to go from like 1920 to 1929, 1930 to 1939. That way you have a whole decade's worth. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to come into classify, click OK for that. We're going to go back into our equal intervals. We can change it to 9. And then we're going to manually change these numbers to suit our purpose. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 1929, 1939, 1949, and so forth, all the way up to 2009. As you can see, it's overshot that one. That's completely fine to have it do that. The worst would to have been put 2005, because then you would be excluding certain values, and that would be bad. So it's okay to go over the highest number, but it's not good to go under the highest value. So then we're going to click OK. And now we have it by decade. So it looks a lot neater that way. And that's it for tutorial 2-2. There's a lot more to classifications. If you go to help and desktop help, you can go to search, classification, and there's all these topics on classification. So feel free to go through and use the help desk. It's very helpful, as it should be. And that is it for this tutorial.